Welcome to the EndurHunt podcast. I am your host, Andrew. Join me as I share my experiences as an emergent hunter and offer advice on how to overcome challenges and pursue your passion for hunting. This is episode 9. I am calling it Capturing the Memories. We're going to be talking all about how to capture those precious memories of the hunts that we go on. If you're like me, you only get to go out west once per year, and memory fades. It's hard to keep track of everything that we've done, all of the little details. And over the years that I have been hunting, I have really put in a lot of time and effort to try and document as much as I can, not necessarily in terms of recreating it for stuff like this or content like this, but for things that I want to cherish and be able to look back on and remember everything that happened or get reminded of things that I have since forgotten, because memories fade over time. The details, they diminish and degrade. And it sucks to lose that. We're going to be talking all about that. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about journaling. I'm going to be talking about taking photos and making photo albums. And before we jump all into that, I kind of wanted to take a step back and just talk about why would we want to capture memories in the first place, right? We're going on, and there is this concept of living in the moment, which is 110% a real thing. I want to be present in the moment. The older that I have gotten, the more experiences that I have, the more I'm interested in just being in the exact moment that I'm in, which is a little bit ironic because I have been capturing things and taking photos and videos and repurposing them for content for podcasts and social media. There is obviously a sense of irony there. But when it comes to being in the moments that matter, the days of our lives, like when you look back at things, who you are is all of the minutia of the day-to-day that happens. It's the moments that you spend with your wife, your dog, your kids. I obviously don't have kids, otherwise that probably would have been in a different order. But those are the little things that matter. And I want to be present in those moments, but I also want to capture the memories of things that I may or may not ever do again. And that leads me into, what started all of this. I think that some of my desire to capture memories, specifically through photos and written word, goes back to my childhood. But I think some of the more profound things in my recent history that have led me down this path is honestly my time in the military. I enlisted in 2011, and I got to travel all over the country. I got to go all over the world too. I started my journey in South Carolina, Parris Island, East Coast Marine. And I've done Camp Geiger in North Carolina. I've done Virginia Beach for my schoolhouse. I've gone to Colorado, Camp Pendleton, California. I've been in Quantico, Virginia, Washington State. I have been all over the place. I've done training operations with different units. I've done deployment with 2 different units. I've been all over. And I've gotten to experience a lot of different things with different people. Anyone who's a veteran that is listening to this podcast is probably going to resonate with what I'm about to say. But damn, I wish I took more photos. When I look back at all of the memories I have, the friends that I made, the acquaintances, all the experiences, I don't have a whole lot of memories that are outside of my head. I don't have a lot of photo albums. When I think about the friends that have passed away, the ones that aren't with us anymore, I've got 1, maybe 2 photos of some of these guys. And it sucks. Not having those memories, not having something else to share and to look back and reflect on, it stinks. It really stinks, especially with how available it is today. I'm recording one of these videos as my cell phone. I'm staring at it right now. We have something in our pocket that can take pictures all the time, but we have a stigma against it, particularly in the military. I feel like, at least with men, I don't know if women feel this the same way, but I know as a guy, I definitely felt this. It's not macho to take photos. You're a loser if you take photos. And then 8 years later, you're reflecting back and you really wish you had more photos. I don't have a lot of photos. I look around my house. I don't have too much that I can hang up from my military days. I don't have a lot of photos. That's because I didn't take them. And as I have gone through my hunting journey and being more exposed to unique and new situations, I want to capture those. You don't know when the last time you do something is going to be, or maybe you do something for the first time and it's the only time you get to do it. My wife and I went to Big Bend National Park for my birthday here a month ago as I'm recording this. It'll probably be 2 months ago as it comes out. I love going to national parks with her. realistically, there's so many, we're probably only going to get to go once. So that one time we went, that's pretty much it. In 2022, so last year, when I went on my archery elk hunt in Ashley National Forest with Peter and I guess his brother-in-law, Jerry. I don't actually know if they're married yet, but whatever, Jerry. We went to Ashley National Forest for the second time, and we were all pretty confident that that's the last time we're going to go there. And so, we took a bunch of photos. And I think it's important because, at least for me, I'm a sentimental person. I think that the intended audience of this podcast are going to be people who joined later in life. They didn't start hunting when they were a kid. They don't have the same experiences that other hunters do. And if you're anything like me, you care a whole lot about capturing those memories because you want to embrace the nostalgia. They are important moments to you. They're foundational in developing the person that you are, and you want to be able to look back at them, the good and the bad. Not all the memories I have from the military are good, but I still cherish every experience that I had. They all formed the person that I am today. And although it may sound like we're off topic, and this is probably a bit strange considering it's a hunting podcast and we're not really talking about hunting, this one is near and dear to my heart. And so I hope that you stick through with me as I go through everything that I've started doing and how I plan on continuing to do that throughout the rest of my hunting career. We've been talking a bit about why you might want to capture memories and why those things can be important. And I think that everyone could reflect on times in their lives where they wish they did a better job of documenting things. And that is why I am a firm believer that you need to have a system in place that you can use to document it however you want. The human brain is not perfect. It's going to forget things. You're going to misremember certain times or certain events. In fact, you probably can't even remember what you ate for lunch yesterday if you ate lunch at all. As important as certain memories are, those memories too will fade. If you're a person like me who has lost a parent or friends from the military or just unfortunate events, slowly those things fade. If you don't have videos, you forget that person's voice. You don't know exactly what they sound like or certain mannerisms that they had. And eventually those things fade into the point where you remember the events that they were with, but I don't know. And maybe it's just me. Maybe other people have better memories than I do. But for me, the nostalgia, the effects that I get from being able to look back at photo albums and journals, it really helps bring me back into that place, especially when I read things exactly the way that they were written. If you watched the episode on the 2022 late rifle elk hunt, which I think is episode 6, I can check actually. Yes, it's episode 6. I brought out my journal and I actually read through some of the pages, and there were details in there that I already forgot about, even though it was just November and I'm recording this in May of 2023. So it's only been about 6-7 months. But I already forgot about stuff. Now let's talk about the systems that you can use to capture memories. So I'll go from what I would consider the easiest to the most involved. And I'm going to say that by the amount of work that you have to put in on the front end. So the easiest is going to be coming up with a plaque. Now, I have not done this personally in the traditional sense for any of the animals that we've taken, but I do on the back of all of the shoulder mounts. If you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify video, over my right shoulder, I'm pointing to it right now, you can see this whitetail buck. This is my wife's first buck. She took it January 1st of 2021, and she took it with a 308 using my Savage Trophy Hunter rifle. Now, I know that because it was a very special, important moment for me, but what I don't remember what the weather was like. I know that I remember thinking about it now, that it had snowed a couple of days before, and that was weird because this was pre-snowpocalypse in Texas. If you're not from Texas or you don't live in central Texas at least, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But 2021, there was what was called snowpocalypse, where basically everything got shut down for a week. And this was before that. But I remember it being odd that we had snow. And so it was probably cold, but I don't actually remember. The reason I'm saying all of this is, if you come up with, or if you get an animal and you just write down date, time, weapon, weather, maybe a situation or how many yards or something like that, and you take that and you have it become either a little brass plate or something, and you can make a wooden pedestal that the mount goes on, and you have a little brass plate that you can put on it. You could also do what I do and just write on the back of them, but the brass plate obviously looks a little bit better, and it's more for a presentation, and I may get around to doing that, but I have not done that until this point. So that is what I would consider the easiest method. It's personally my least favorite method because you're still missing a lot of details, you're missing a lot of the emotion, you're missing everything that kind of goes into it, in my opinion. But if you want to start, I would consider that your level 1 of capturing the memory of the hunt. Then level 2, I'm actually going to swap the order around here a little bit and talk about photography. So photography is probably the second easiest barrier to entry. And the only reason I'm putting this as a little bit harder than the plaque creation is because you have to actually do something with the photos after the fact, and you're taking them throughout the time, and you have to think about taking the photos. You have to step outside of the situation you're in and take the photo. It pulls you away from the moment a little bit. Now, I've been a big fan of photography for a long, long time. And what I have before me is the first of what will hopefully be many photography journals or albums of hunting trips that I've gone on. This is a new practice for me. I only started it last year, but I plan on doing more of these because I've never been great about printing out my photos. I tend to just keep the photo albums and share them with the people that were there, people that mean something to me. Photos are an amazing way of putting you back in the moment, physically in space. When I look back at some of my old photos from different hunts I've been on or vacations that I've been to, it really does give you back that feeling of being there. And as much as the words that you can get in a journal are useful for feeling the emotion of being there, the visual aspect that you get from having a photo album is just, it's so nostalgic. Being able to look at the photos in a photo album and physically hold them just provides this visceral, real experience that's almost like bringing you back in time. And just for those of you who are on the audio podcast or only, I'm sorry you can't see this, I'll post a photo of it on Instagram so you can see what I'm talking about. But what I'm holding is the 2021 Wyoming pronghorn photo album I created. And basically, I created 3 of these. So this trip was really special. I'm planning on having Peter back on. If you haven't listened to it yet, you definitely need to listen to episode 8 of the podcast. I had Peter on. We specifically talked about the very first hunt we went on, Montana. But this hunt was really special to both of us, and I'm planning on having him back on. This was his first time hunting with his dad out west. And I made 3 of these albums. One for myself, obviously I'm holding it here, but I also made one for Peter and one for his dad and gave it to both of them for Christmas gifts last year. But this is just a simple photo album made in Shutterfly. There's nothing special for it. I'll share the link to Shutterfly and with some of their photo albums in the description of both the podcast and the YouTube video. But when you do, and I'm going to share, so I'm sorry if you're listening on the audio, but when you look back at some of these photos, there are things that you're not going to remember. So a couple of these pictures are from before the hunt kicked off. Peter and I zeroing our rifles out at 200, 300, 400 yards, our nighttime camp set up. Then the awesome pictures of Peter with his buck, the first buck that he got, and he got it on day one, and it was in the afternoon after a long day of failed hikes. And man, I can't wait to have him on and talk about this on another podcast, but the ridiculous lengths that he went to stalking in on this buck were just insane. The night sky I have some pictures of here, and glassing, all of those little impromptu moments, his dad picking up a mule deer shed, us finding a deadhead. I mean, looking back on some of these photos really brings you back in time. Like I love this place, and it's really special because realistically, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to hunt this again. We were fortunate enough to have access to a a cattle ranch in Wyoming, a very large one. Well, large by my standards. I know there are bigger out there, but it was big enough and there were no other hunters on there that it was an extremely unique experience. And then the ridiculous nature of us using a cow decoy to try and sneak in on antelope, which, by the way, does not work if you had the idea of it. And then ending off with me getting mine. If you're only listening, again, I've said this like 3 times, I'm sorry. On the audio, you can probably see me flipping through the book and just looking back at all of the photos and just seeing how beautiful the landscape is. I have not been and may never will be at another place quite like this. It's a very unique property with antelope, pronghorn, whatever you call them, everywhere. And it was just a really cool experience to be able to share with these guys. And I love being able to just open this book whenever I want and just see the landscape again, and not have to try and remember what it's like in my head, because that memory is going to fade over time. And this book just sits on my bookshelf. I can see it whenever I want and pull it out. And it doesn't take that much effort. I really do like Shutterfly. I've used them for making several photo albums in the past like this. And essentially the way it works is you go and open up their website, you select your photo album, and then it allows you to select a bunch of pictures and organize them and place them however you want. You can customize it. You can add text and descriptions under each one. They do have templates that you can use. It's really great, and the quality is very good. They ship it to you pretty quickly, and it doesn't take that long. And I highly, highly recommend it, especially for those trips where you're going out west. I don't know that I would do something like this and maybe I will when I have kids and it's a different experience, but when I'm doing hunts by myself in Texas, it's hard for me to say that, yeah, I would do an annual photo album or something like that. Obviously, I'd take some pictures, but for me, going out west and being able to really capture the memories of those moments are special. And I love being able to look at these photo albums, and I've got plenty of pictures from all the different hunting trips I've gone on. I just need to go back and actually make unique albums for each one. And I definitely plan on doing that. There are so many benefits to capturing photos. If nothing else, I think that you should try and capture photos, even if you don't turn them into an album the way that I have, or if you don't make them gifts or frame them or print out the photos and hang them up. At least take photos and be able to scroll through your phone and look at them and remember the places that you've been, the people you were with. Because those facial expressions, the small details of how they were, like for example, in this photo album from Wyoming, Peter's smile is bigger when his dad took his pronghorn than when Peter took his own. And that's a small detail that I forgot about, but I know how monumental that moment was for him. And those are little details and things that you're going to forget. And maybe I'm crazy for wanting to capture those moments, but they're really impactful for me and they mean a lot. So I would encourage you, if nothing else, if you don't want to do a plaque, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I know it's an option and many people do it, take photos. Even if you don't print them, even if you don't make an album out of them, although I would encourage you to do both, I do both, at least take the pictures so that you can look back on it. Because maybe next year you won't worry about it. Maybe in 5 years you won't worry about it. But in 20 or 30 years, I know I'm going to be able to look back at this photo album and remember everything from that hunt and be able to look back at all the experiences that Peter, his dad, and I had, that we may never get to do something like this again. And to me, that's really special. And now, the third and final option that I use today for capturing memories is through a hunt journal. I wish I started this earlier. So this journal, I'm holding it now. If you are watching only, or if you are on audio only, again, I'm sorry, I will put links in the description, but I've been using Woodchuck journals for a long time. I'm not sponsored by Shutterfly or Woodchuck, for the record. I just really love these journals. I don't know how I found them, but they use a wood veneer, and I really like that, and they plant trees for the products that you buy. And that's honestly something I can get behind. Journals themselves are pretty unique. You can bind different designs. You can even customize them if you want. I use a journal like this for my hunt journal, and then I just have a personal journal that I use for regular journaling throughout my life. And that one, I have a custom embossed spine that says my name on it, and you can do a lot of great things on it. But I keep one of these, and this is the first one that I started. I'm still using it. I haven't gone through it yet. But I started this when I went on my first Western hunting trip. I wish I started using this journal sooner. So I knew that I wanted to hunt forever in Montana, and admittedly, I was not great at journaling at that point in my life. I always aspired to journal more, but I never did. And I wish I did, because if I could have documented the lessons that I learned in that first season of hunting back in New Jersey, man, I'd love to be able to just see the progression of my knowledge and experience over time. I can kind of do that here, but it's different. So this journal starts October 2nd, 2020. And I use the same general format for how I do my journal entries for everything. You can do it however you want, but I always put, for that particular entry, I always put the date in the top right. I put the type of hunting I'm doing, the animal I'm pursuing, and where. So looking through this journal, I have October 2nd, 2020, over-the-counter elk, Utah, Ashley National Forest. That was a rifle hunt. Then, let's see, I've got January 1st, 2021, whitetail deer, Texas. I'm not going to say exactly where. September 18th, dove in Taylor, Texas. Let's see, rifle elk, Arizona, November 26th. And I write an entry for every single day that I hunt. And I like to do that because you get to see the progression of the journey and your emotions over time. So a good example is I'm on right here. Pronghorn, Wyoming, September 30th was the first day. Technically, we were not hunting at that point, but I kind of wrote about the journey coming in here, and the things that I remember now, I remember this because of how impactful it was, but each day, as particularly going through to the end, so we switched from pronghorn to deer after October 4th, and that was once we had all filled our tags. So the days before that, though, were filled with significant emotions for myself, because I think I had to do 15 stalks before I was finally able to make it happen on my pronghorn. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that more when I do a podcast with Peter and break it down. All of this background over how I do my journaling to say that you're capturing that moment over time. And I love this. This is the thing that I really enjoy the most, even more than the photos. I love the photos because they get to transport me back, and I'll remember the places, and I can see the expressions on people's face, and it's really great to see that. I actually reference the photo album more than the journal, but I love the journal because it shows everything over time. I write in my journal at the end of the day, every single day, and I capture everything that happened, the emotions, the highs, the lows, how tired I am, what's on my mind. You get to capture your thought process. And that is one of my biggest regrets about not starting this sooner, because that first season in New Jersey, going after whitetail deer that helped me get the buck that's over my left shoulder, I had to learn so much in that first season. And whatever entry number one would have been versus the entry on the day that I took that buck, I would be able to go back and read through the entire journey getting to that point and see all the struggle that I had to go through, all the trials and tribulations that I had to go through in order to find that success. Now, each hunt that I go on, especially those Western trips, even though I document everything, I know in here somewhere I have public land. Oh, here we go. November 28th, whitetail deer. I'm not going to say the unit, but Texas. It's public land. I capture all of it in here because I want to see that progression over time. The struggles that I was facing on day one of a hunting season are going to be different than what I am on the last day. Whether I find success or not, there's still a journey of growth, emotions, and experience that can be covered through words. And being able to go back and even these hunts, I've only been doing this documenting for the last 3 years. I started it in 2020. Just being able to read through that first hunt, over-the-counter elk, Ashley National Forest in Utah, I can read through everything that happened here. And it just really does transport you back. And maybe I care too much about the nostalgia, but I know that when I'm an old guy and I'm stuck sitting in a rocking chair because I can't go out anymore and I want to look back and think about the experiences that I've lived in my life, I have something physical that I can turn to. I can read the words that I wrote back then, relive the emotions and the feelings that I had when I had just started the hunting journey, or when I had taken my first elk or that first pronghorn, or when hopefully this year I'll be writing about me getting my first mule deer. I'd love to be able to read these, and I know that I'll be able to. And then you can share these words and experiences. When I have kids or grandkids, I can actually show them my journals. I can read to them about the experiences. I can share the photos that I've taken. All of these things come together in a way that allows us to share stories and remember the moments that made us who we are. I love these experiences. I love capturing all of it to the best of my ability. And I'm going to encourage you to do the same. I think that if you're listening to this podcast, you are the type of person who cherishes those moments, cherishes the memories, and doesn't want to look back with regret that they wish they took more photos, or wish they documented things better. You don't have to make a YouTube video for everything that you do. You don't have to have an Instagram page or a TikTok page or whatever to post and share everything in your life. I'm never going to share this journal on the internet. It's not going to happen. This journal's for me. It's for me to share with myself, my wife, our eventual kids, and maybe my friends that want to hear about the stories. This journal sits on my bookshelf, or this photo album, sits on my bookshelf. I look at it. This is for me. Yeah, I bought other copies and shared them, but these are for me to share with the people that are closest to me. You don't have to document everything on the internet. At the end of the day, it's important to capture these memories, if for nothing else, for you to be able to look back on the things that you've done, the experiences that you've had, and just enjoy those memories coming back. Embracing the situations that you've been in, the people that you've experienced life with. These are foundational parts of your life that make you the person that you are. And I think it's important to document that stuff in whatever way that you can. You can do the plaque. You can do a photo album. You could just take photos and look at them on your phone. You could do a journal. Whatever it is that works for you. But I would encourage you to do something, because you'll want to be able to, I believe anyway, that you will want to be able to look back at those in the future and have the memories. These mounts may not last forever. And I know that they do a pretty good job of preserving things, and these journals probably won't last forever either. But I like to do what I can to capture those and preserve those memories for as long as possible. This way that I can look back at them and share them with other people that I care about. I would encourage you to do the same. Again, I'm going to share the resources for both woodchuck and shutterfly in the podcast description, YouTube, and I'll probably throw some stuff on social media and my links as well. I'll share photos of the photo album and the journal on Instagram so you can see what they look like if you need any inspiration for doing so. I guess my last ask for you is, if you are listening to this podcast, you made it this far, thank you so much. I'd love to hear what you do to capture the memories. Do you capture them at all? Is that something that means something to you? If you use a different method than I do, or even if you just use one of the ones that I have, please comment on one of my Instagram posts about it, comment on the YouTube video for this podcast, or just reach out to me. I'm on Instagram at EndurHunt, EndurHunt. Same thing on Twitter, even though I don't really use that, and YouTube. You can find us on those 3 platforms. Please reach out, comment, let us know what you're doing to document your journey and capture your memories. If you have a new and better way of doing things, I'd love to hear it, because I'm always looking for ways to do things better. This is the current system that I use. It means a lot to me, but I'm open to doing more. I've been doing it for 3 years this way and it's worked really well. But if someone has a better system they use, by all means, go for it. If you do solely digital stuff, that works too, if that's the lifestyle that you live. I like having things that I can pick up and actually play with in the physical world. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and listen to this. I know that it's a different topic. It's not something that is directly related to hunting, but I think it's important. I think it's impactful. So until next time, thank you.